has been told me by different people, different places, that what if it's a possibility that we're still living in the prehistory of human beings?
We also teach children that it's not nice to kill, thou shalt not, but in the meantime we give them a gun, or we give them a toy, or we let them see all of the horrors on.
I believe the time is now right to explode the colossal myth that our country can maintain peace in the world alone by simply carrying a huge stick or trying to stay ahead in the arms race. All of the nations are squandering a total of some $250 billion of the world's treasure each year on war.
Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war.
As the governor of Minnesota, I'm proud to introduce this story. In many ways, it is an incredible story of a Minnesota grassroots effort to promote permanent peace in the whole world. The people involved differ in many ways as to religion, politics, race, and color. However, the common denominator is that we belong to the same human family. We're dedicated to the proposition that if the human family on spaceship Earth is to survive, the world problems of war, pollution, and starvation must be outlawed. This is our quest. I sincerely believe this story needs to be told throughout our state, throughout the nation, and yes, the world. Who knows, the concept of world citizenship could be the spark that will ignite the flame of permanent peace under just law.
I dreamed I saw a mighty room, and the room was filled with men, and the paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the paper was all signed and a million copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads. Grateful prayers were prayed, and the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and guns and swords and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed
I'm Bill Carlson. After those thoughts so articulately expressed by the music of John Denver and the comments on world citizenship by our Governor Wendell Anderson, perhaps it would be very appropriate at this point to talk to the prime mover of this world citizenship movement in our area, a Minneapolis businessman by the name of Lynn Elling. Lynn, how did this all get started?
Well, Bill, in our travels to Japan in 1963 and again to Norway in 1967, we had the opportunity to meet Thor Hardal of Kon-Tiki fame and also Norman Cousins, who told us about this concept of world citizenship. In fact, they urged us to go home and see what we could do about developing a declaration of world citizenship at the local level. The intent and the purpose is to point out that we are really all members of the same human family, regardless of race, color, creed, or nationality even, and to have people realize that we are traveling together on Mother Spaceship Earth. Second, in order to eliminate war and to eliminate power politics and effectively work on the world problems of pollution and starvation and overpopulation, we have to somehow strengthen the United Nations and give it the capability to keep the peace for this family of man. And the third point is, if we can convince enough people in our hometown, nationally and internationally, to think and act as world citizens, then I believe we'll have a chance to actually bring about a strong United Nations under a rule of law. In 1968, Stan Platt, another businessman, and I approached Arthur Naftalin and convinced him and the other city and county officials to adopt the Minneapolis Declaration of World Citizenship. And now, more recently, with your strong support, Governor Anderson, and men like Stanley Holmquist and other leaders in Minnesota, we were able to get the Minnesota Declaration of World Citizenship, the very first in the entire country. So that's the story, Bill.
Governor, you've endorsed this project right from the very beginning. How do you feel now that it has had some wide acceptance, and where do we go from here?
Bill, I'm very proud that Minnesota is the first state to have such a Declaration of World Citizenship. I would hope that it proved to be a catalyst or vehicle that could be used throughout the country to help us better promote world peace.
On that first day, the flag of the United Nations was raised over the Capitol. Many prominent Minnesotans were present. We'd like to hear some of the words of the Reverend John Cummins, one of those present that day.
Let us offer a thanksgiving for those of every race and religion, of every land and tradition, in whose hearts has been peace, whose ways have been the ways of peace, and who have sought to invest the green and fruitful earth with the golden gifts of equity, brotherhood, and goodwill. The earth is one. Let every church and temple, every mosque and roadside shrine, every synagogue and cathedral of earth proclaim it. Let children be taught it. Let the halls of nations ring with it. The earth is one. And let there be no peace until every child of earth is increasingly free from bondage of the mind and of the spirit and of the body, until earth and seas and skies shall dance and the universe itself resound with the joyful cry, "Behold, I am more fully man." In the name of all earth's children do we pray. Amen.
Mayor William Powell of Stillwater, representing the mayors of Minnesota.
As world citizens, we must work toward the solution of the problems that face us today, not only at the state and local levels, but also at a level which is sometimes overlooked, the personal level. There are many things we can do to promote world peace and understanding. At the personal level, we must learn to appreciate and understand our neighbors. As a constant reminder of these principles, we fly the United Nations flag over the municipal building in Stillwater every day.
As Lynn Elling mentioned, Senator Stanley Holmquist, Minnesota Senate Majority Leader, also participated in the signing of the World Citizenship Declaration.
I have lived through World War I and also World War II, the Korean War, and now the Vietnam War, plus many, many other hot and cold wars. I believe the time is now right to explode the colossal myth that our country can maintain peace in the world alone by simply carrying a huge stick or trying to stay ahead in the arms race. All of the nations are squandering a total of some $250 billion each year of the world's treasury on war. The answer, my friends, is not blowing in the wind. It is acceptance of a sense of world citizenship by most members of our family of man, so that we can demand that the United Nations be given the strength needed to guarantee peace under a just world law. We must outlaw war and power politics. Also, this seems to me to be the only way to lick the problems of world pollution and hunger. As one deeply interested in maintaining an excellent public school system, I am very pleased to learn that many of our top Minnesota educators are leading the way to develop a curriculum prototype or blueprint on the subject of world citizenship.
The concept of world citizenship is being accepted by people all over the world, and in my judgment, that's good. We live in a very small world. Few of us deny that now. And I frankly am very anxious that the great and the good ideas in Minnesota get into the arena for full discussion and for the impact they may have on great ideas such as justice and equity and dignity for all men. World citizenship means responsibility. Responsibility for constant studentship, the diligent application of our intelligence to the world's problems, which are not alone the problems of Minnesota or the United States or North America. In my judgment, pupils, students, teachers, guidance counselors, principals, and even superintendents can play a key role in establishing the acceptance of the notion of world citizenship. It does not diminish in any way our citizenship as residents of Minnesota or our citizenship as residents of this great country of ours. What it does say, as I indicated earlier, is that it permits us to be factors in determining how we shall, as a world, survive. I gladly join with Senator Holmquist in asserting that it would be good and proper in Minnesota to give great emphasis to the development of a curriculum with emphasis on world citizenship and world peace. And to that end, I pledge my capability and my talent.
It's almost 50 years since the great Spanish jurist Salvador de Madariaga told us that there were no longer foreign relations, but only world relations. And he hastened to say we ought to stop talking about foreign relations and talk instead about world relations. And indeed, so right he is, because whether it's a crisis on the roof of the world in Tibet or at the opposite end of the world, anything that happens is literally a part of world relations. And so symbolically, as we see the United Nations flag, we know that it stands for an effort here of mankind to resolve finally some kind of an instrument here for peace that will bring peace throughout the world.
Actress Nancy Nelson discussed world citizenship with Josie Johnson, member of the University of Minnesota Board of Regents.
Josie, you indicated that you felt a mother's obligation was to teach her children very carefully human dignity, among other things.
In talking of world citizenship and world peace, we encounter the violence that our world sees today. My goodness, your children can sit down and watch it on television and watch the riots in China, buy this and that war toy in the department stores. Isn't that a terribly significant thing that we're dealing with?
I think so, and I also feel that it requires that kind of awareness on the part of mothers and women, that these are the little ways we teach children. We say one thing and do another. It's this, we teach them at the need to be prejudiced and to discriminate and to feel superior to other people. We do that by things we say, by expressions on our face, by attitude. We also teach children that it's not nice to kill, thou shalt not, but in the meantime we give them a gun, or we give them a toy, or we let them see all of the horrors on TV. I agree. We have a tremendous role and a lot of things to do to undo what's been done as far as the world is concerned, and our own citizens' role. And it is a very individual role, you know.
Josie, without being morbid, you have 3 children, 3 daughters.
Yes.
And so you're going to leave them, at least at this point in our society, a dual burden when you leave them. You leave them as women and as black women.
Right.
What would Josie Johnson like to leave her 3 daughters as having given them as a mother, and what kind of world would you hope that they will be able to enjoy?
That's such a significant question, because my hope is that by now they have much of what we want them to have, and that is respect, healthy sense of respect, who they are, what they are potentially capable of, and where they fit in this world. I hope that they will have a sense of respect for others, an appreciation for the difference that others bring and the richness that this difference can make in their own life. I hope that they will always have the sense of dedication to what is right and just for all people. I hope they will not allow the outside world to destroy this very basic, gutsy feeling that they have for people, for human beings, and exercise this in very positive, constructive ways. I hope they never sit back and be complacent and contented with whatever their individual contribution can be, but will always feel the need to be strongly identified with black people and the issues of all oppressed people of the world, and will exercise this in a positive way, not just feel it, but do something about it.
Thank you for a beautiful definition of world citizenship.
Thank you.
Josie Johnson.
Thank you very much.
Saying about world peace, my goodness, where does it begin? It's such an awesome thing. Where do we begin?
Well, you know, I don't know, but that's really one of the few things worth living for, the possibility of that kind of life being a reality for, if not ourselves, our children or their children. If you think that the world would go on exactly as it is today, that's not a very nice thing to think about, as far as I'm concerned. And I think that we have it within us to better our situation, to bring about more understanding between the different peoples, the different parts of the world. All men are my brothers, and all living things, and I care about them. And I think that when more people develop that kind of an attitude in their own life, in the way they treat people, in the way they work from day to day, that it's possible. And that's what I'm working for. It's my personal feeling that the way to find this end is that each of us has to make a personal commitment, individually, ourselves, to live in peace, to live a peaceful life, to be gentle, to be nonviolent, and that to give every person, no matter who he is, where he comes from, what color he is, the chance to be all that he can be on his own, whether he's a very gifted person and can reach all the heights of success, acclaim that you can possibly reach, or whether he's sort of a bewildered, average, around-the-house kind of guy who can still live a very meaningful life on his own terms. We have nothing to fear from these other people. We have no reason to force our way upon them. Just give them the chance. They'll give us the chance. I think we can live together this way.
Congressman Bill Frenzel of Minnesota's 3rd Congressional District. I've just signed the Minnesota Declaration of World Citizenship, and I'm proud to do so. I commend the people who have started and progressed this project, and I recommend the project to all people everywhere. The people who have been working on the Minnesota project are not fuzzy thinkers. They are determined, active people of great local loyalties who are seeing beyond those to the greater obligations of world citizenship. They are politicians, they are educators, businessmen, clergymen, your neighbors, who recognize that no country, not ours or anyone, can forever be a world policeman. And that we see if we are going to be the beneficiaries of a peaceful future, we must have world law and world peace. And therefore, I would encourage everyone to participate in this project in any way that it's possible.
Hopefully, with that kind of support from government officials, from private citizens, educators, we hope that this will promote a discussion and interest in strengthening the United Nations. I think the real question now, Lynn, is are there materials available to help us in that study?
Yes, sir, there are. In fact, the World Law Fund and the United Nations Association of the United States both have excellent material, some good study guides for all levels, junior high on up. I think one of the best studies that I've seen, and it's very current, is this United Nations in the 70s. I posed the question, and several questions, in fact, as to how we can further promote this concept of world citizenship. And I'm wondering why we can't, for example, have an international holiday on UN Day all over the world. Why we couldn't develop a universal passport, a world citizen passport, if you will. Why we can't ask our astronauts to implant the UN flag on the moon in the name of the entire family of man. So these are some of my thoughts.
Congressman Don Fraser of Minnesota's 5th Congressional District.
If you are moved by this story, I sincerely hope that you will join our quest for permanent peace by taking the first step of declaring yourself a citizen of the world. Then encourage your friends and your neighbors and your relatives to do the same. It's estimated that the nations of the world are spending over $250 billion in war or preparing for war. And Governor Anderson has suggested that the idea of world citizenship may be the catalyst or the common denominator in promoting the permanent world peace that we all seek. I assure you that I'll do everything that I can in the nation's capital to promote this idea. We have an organization in Congress known as Members of Congress for Peace Through Law. It has 29 senators and 89 representatives. I hope that this organization in Congress will grow and help to spread the idea of world citizenship. One way you can show your support is by joining the United Nations Association.
Once upon a time in the land of Hushabye, around about the wondrous days of yore, they came across a sort of box bound up with chains and locked with locks and labeled, "Kindly do not touch. It's war." A decree was issued round about, all with a flourish and a shout, and a gaily colored mascot tripping lightly on before. Don't fiddle with this deadly box or break the chains or pick the locks. And please, don't ever play about with war. Well, the children understood. Children happened to be good. They were just as good around the time of yore. They didn't try to pick the locks or break into that deadly box. They never tried to play about with war. Mommies didn't either. Sisters, aunts, grannies neither, because they were quiet and sweet and pretty in those wondrous days of yore. Well, very much the same as now. Not the ones to blame somehow for opening up that deadly box of war. Someone did. Someone battered in the lid, spilled the insides out across the floor. A sort of bouncy, bumpy ball made up of guns and flags and all the tears and horror and the death that goes with war. It bounced right out and went bashing all about it and bumping into everything in store. And what was sad and most unfair is that it didn't really seem to care much who it bumped. or why, or what, or for. It bumped the children mainly. And I'll tell you this quite plainly. It bumps them every day, and more, and leaves them dead and burned and dying, thousands of them sick and crying. Because when it bumps, it's really very sore. Now there's a way to stop the ball. It isn't difficult at all. All it takes is wisdom. And I'm absolutely sure that we could get it back into the box and bind the chains, lock the locks. But no one seems to want to save the children anymore. Well, that's the way it all appears. It's just been bouncing around for years and years. In spite of all the wisdom whiz since those wondrous days of yore, the time they came across the box, bound up with chains and locked with locks, and labeled, kindly do not touch. It's war.
My fellow Americans and fellow world citizens, even though most of us are amateur film personalities, hopefully the message came through loud and clear. But this is a call to action. There's got to be a better way for all nations, large and small, to conduct their affairs without having to engage in war. This is a simple fact of life, but there are all too many who do not know it. So let us not allow our Minnesota Declaration to be a play on words, but instead a call to action. It's easy to talk about high principles, but each of us must work to remind ourselves of the great task of making those principles come to life. I assure you that the United States flag and United Nations flag that fly above our state capitol are good reminders to me personally to continue in my quest for permanent world peace under a rule of just world law through the United Nations. Won't you join us in this quest?
Blessing for today. Though the cities start to crumble and the towers fall around us, the sun is slowly fading and it's colder than the sea. It is written from the desert to the mountains, they shall lead us by the hand and by the heart, and they will comfort you and me. In their innocence and trusting, they will teach us to be free. For the children and the flowers are my sisters and my brothers. Their laughter and their loveliness will clear a cloudy day. And the song that I am singing is a prayer to non-believers. Come and stand beside us. We can find